I want to say something about this kind of work. Now, it differs very much from usual psychotherapy. Now, in usual psychotherapy, the therapist is trained to work with the individual person. The person comes with a problem, and he applies his skills to help that person. And it needs a long training that he can help these persons. And according to he will be a good therapist or not such a good therapist. And some of the methods taught are designed that they can be repeated. They can be repeated. Like in a scientific experiment, you can repeat the same experiment if you set the same conditions. So in scientific psychotherapy, very often there is a notion that you have certain methods, and if you apply them correctly, then the success will be sure. In this way, there's no regard for the soul of the people. This has something mechanical. Now here, I don't work actually myself. I can make very little use of my skills.
Make a little?
Of my skills. I can make very little use of my skills.
Okay.
Because the outcome is not dependent on my skills. There are other forces at work which decide whether it will be successful or not. And if a constellation has been successful, it is not because I was good, but because the soul of that person, and at the same time a greater soul, has arranged for a good solution. So I have to be in tune with a greater soul, a soul that takes care of all people in the same way. Now if somebody comes to me and says, you must work with me, otherwise I cannot solve my problem, what happens to me? At that moment, I lose my connection to the greater soul. And that person asking me in this way is not in tune with the greater soul. Therefore, those who are very eager to work with me, give me or the greater soul a chance.
Pardon?
They don't give neither me nor the greater soul a chance to help. Therefore, I don't choose people because they ask me. I don't choose them because they are on the list. I choose them in accordance with the greater soul. And sometimes I feel, yes, I must work with that person. And sometimes I feel, no, I must not work with that person. Now, if somebody is very eager to work with me, they don't learn here from the other constellations because they are fixed on me. And therefore, they fail to learn from what is offered here. And very often, if somebody is just attentive to what is going on, trusting the greater soul, they find solutions without working with me. Something else has been operating. Therefore, this work only succeeds if we are in tune with something beyond us, if we are in tune with something that is beyond us. Now, the same applies to the representatives here. Some of them may be very good therapists, and sometimes they think, oh yes, that would be a right move. At that moment, they rely on their skills, but they may lose contact with the greater soul. So as a rule, if you are a representative, don't move before you are really driven from something within which is irresistible, and don't have any intention or wish to help the client. Otherwise, you take the place of the greater soul, and this will fail. Now, the movements of the greater soul are very slow, and it takes time until they show. So I give the full time to the developments of that soul. And sometimes you may feel, what I feel now, that is wrong. For instance, if a man here suddenly feels an incestuous love for his daughter, he may be afraid to say this, because he may be afraid that people think he himself has these feelings. But he is a representative. He feels the feelings of the person he represents. Now, if he does not say what he really feels, this blocks the constellation. Because whatever a representative shows here are not his own feelings. I may tell you something from the last constellation. He was a representative of that first boy of hers. Now, the woman told me afterwards that this boy, who's 8 years old, always expresses a wish to die. So he expressed it very correctly, what actually was going on here in the constellation. And it was also quite clear that we could not help the woman. So if I cannot help her, I show she's not ready. She's not in tune with the greater soul, and I must not interfere by any other methods in order to help her. I have to bow in front of the greater soul.